Can investing in XRP build generational wealth? Found this article that came out a few days ago, I think. I was loving this. I'm guessing this is probably AI generated, as I feel like most things are nowadays, but I was loving that. But I thought this was very interesting, so we're just going to go through this. Yeah, can investing in XRP build generational wealth? And I'm going to share some numbers here, some simple numbers, and then my opinion kind of towards the end. So stick around. Here's something that, was interesting. According to a crypto wealth report, the number of investors holding $1 million worth of digital assets has surged to 172,300, which is a 95% jump compared to the previous year. I'm guessing they're talking about 2025. They don't specify it, but I'm guessing they're talking about, this year compared to last year, 2024. But just think about that, 95%. It went up 95% compared to the previous year. Notably, 325 individuals hold more than $100 million of crypto assets. And talking about the billionaires, because there are crypto billionaires, there are 28 crypto billionaires, which is a 27% jump from the previous year. Whoa. Just to be a billionaire in general, right? Not even just from, crypto and stuff, is wild. But for that to be 28 and to have jumped 27% in a year is wild. It's just showing how much is happening in the crypto world, not just XRP, but crypto as a whole, and just like how early we still are, right? These numbers are still, you only see big numbers like this, 95 and 27%, when things are kind of early and kind of, building on what they already have, and new things are coming out and they're expanding, right? Here's some numbers. So consider this. The typical American family is currently spending an average of $6,440 a month, which amounts to a whopping $77,280 a year, as per the most recent statistic. Most families have only a small cushion left after paying for necessities such as housing, which alone consumes 33% of spending, or $2,120 a month, out of an after-tax annual income of $87,869. Imagine now that you put in $10,000, which is roughly what a family spends in a month and a half, according to this, in one asset that can multiply your wealth by several times. Although the amount is a little high, it is possible with a few months of saving. So this is going to be off of, if you invest $10,000 in XRP, which I'm not saying to invest $10,000 in XRP. Let me make that clear. I'm just showing you what this article is saying in these numbers. If you really, you decided you want to go in XRP, you kind of want to go all in, or you had $10,000 lying around, who doesn't have $10,000 lying around, and you want to put it in XRP, here's the numbers. And like I said, I'll kind of share my opinion afterwards. That's a little different because $10,000 is a good bit of money, right? So at press time, the XRP stood at $2.09. I think it's still around $2.20. By investing $10,000, one would be able to buy approximately 47.84 XRP. But to make things simple, they just went to 5,000 XRP in case the price falls to the $2 support zone, assuming that analyst predictions come true and XRP reaches a mind-blowing price of $10,000, which again, hang with me. That's a crazy amount for XRP to reach. 10,000, then those 5,000 XRP would be an unbelievable value of 50 million, which anyone would say 50 million is, yes, that is generational wealth. And this is what it goes off of. And again, bear with me because 10,000, you're probably thinking 10,000 XRP can never go to 10,000 and stuff. And I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, it's like, this is new. Like a lot would have to happen. And, the burn rate, burning XRP over the years and stuff, all that. Who knows, who knows if it actually could. I mean, right now looking at it, it's like, no, it couldn't, but I always like to keep an open mind. But This is just saying, let's say average inflation is 3% per year. That means the cost of living doubles roughly every 24 years. To understand how far $50 million would go in future dollars, let's adjust. So now 100 inflation adjusted annual spending, 100,000 years of coverage with 50 million, 500 years. That's crazy. 25 years later, 239 years, 50 years later, 114 years. So 50 million, from a $10,000 investment holding 5,000 XRP would be 50 million if it went to $10,000, which would be crazy. Would be awesome. But yeah, it's kind of hard to, that's a big number. And it goes on, it says 10,000 out of $2, going to $10,000 from where it's at roughly 220 at the recording of this video does not sound realistic. So what are some realistic predictions? What they have on here is, it has, most analysts estimate the XRP will trade between $2 and $5 by the end of 2025. I think that's realistic. I just did a video about $7. I think $7 is very realistic for 2025. Let me know what you think. With some bullish cases stating that it might go as high as 581, moving even further into the future, 2030, long-term forecasts show that XRP may reach approximately $26.50. In 2050, the most optimistic plausible prediction is a mind-blowing price of $526 per token. So under an optimistic mainstream projection, an investment of $10,000 in XRP today would be worth about $132,500 by 2030, or $2.63 million in 2050. These amounts indicate humongous profits, they obviously cannot be compared to the 50 million mark, which would be crazy. Again, it's like, you could tell in this video, my mind is still just like blown by the 50 million. I'm like, that would be wild. And usually if it's too good to be true, it usually is. But, like I said, I like to keep an open mind. You never know down the road. And it would take a long time, but you just never know, right? And that's the exciting thing in XRP and crypto, I think, or at least for me it is. So what would it take for XRP to hit $10,000, a $500 trillion market cap, given the current supply, which is just for, it shows the all-time high market cap of Bitcoin is slightly above $2 trillion, whereas the total market cap of gold is approximately $13 trillion. So 500 trillion just for XRP. It's just like, that's where you're just like, people will see $10,000 like, whoa. And again, it's like, given the current supply. So if like things happen with supply, blah, 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 and all this, that's where I'm just like, you just never know. But yeah, it just seems very, very crazy and out there kind of. But so, this is the mainstream predictions of the price ranging between $26 and up to even $526 in the next 10 to 25 years are still a considerable amount of returns that can make a difference in your financial future. Which, yes, is very much so. 10,000 could go into, 132,500. Is that generational wealth? No, but is that a substantial that you could use to build, a substantial amount of money that you could use to build generational wealth? Depends how smart you are. But that's where like my thoughts, kind of wrapping up this video, my thoughts is $100. If XRP reached $100, which I think is very possible, and possible in the next, 5 years between now and 2030, I think is very, very possible to reach somewhere around there. Let me know your thoughts. But $100 and you bought $10,000 worth of XRP, 500, XRP tokens, and it went to $100. If don't do math in public, but 5,000 XRP tokens at $100 a pop is $500,000, And that's not even saying, to 526, that still is like, in my mind, that's high. We'd have to get to the $100 mark first for something that big. But even if you just think of right now, we'd have to get past the $3 mark, right? But for the long-term plan, if you actually believe in XRP and its technology and where crypto's going, where the world's going with technology and using this, and this being a financial token, not just, an asset of in the financial world, just not something that just has hype around it. It has real world adoption that's happening. It is happening right now, and that like fixes a problem in cross-border payments. And if they are the top dog and they become like the NVIDIA of crypto, shout out to NVIDIA, then I mean, $100, that's where I'm like $100, and you have 5,000 tokens, roughly $10,000 that you put in, $500,000. I mean, again, it's not necessarily generational wealth. I mean, you could use that to help build generational wealth, I think, for sure. And it's how smart you are. But so those are my thoughts, opinions at the end of this video. Is 10,000 would be great. That would be wild, mind blown, whole shebang. But let's just think of $100. If it went to $100 and you had 5,000 tokens, or maybe you even have more. Maybe you have 6,000, 7,000, 10,000. If you have 10,000 tokens and it goes $100, there's $1 million right there. Which off this math is basically, just a little over $20,000. $20,000 and some change would get you, if it went to $100, you would hit $1 million. So that's kind of, it for this video. That's kind of some simple math, or maybe it's not that simple, but it's interesting, right? So let me know if you're the people that are like, yeah, $10,000, I think one day, and you maybe have an open mind, or maybe you're just like looking at the numbers because the numbers don't make sense, and you're like, $10,000, XRP could never reach that. But then let me know also if you think $100, how possible is that for XRP to hit $100 in the nearest future? But yeah, that is it for this video. Just wanted to share that. I thought that was interesting, just looking at those numbers and kind of thinking, how much XRP do you hold, and then run those numbers, or run, what you want it to hit, think it will hit, all that. And always, have a plan and stick to it. But that is it for this video. Thanks for sticking around, and catch you on the next one. Peace.